horrible action or bodily action, one would be reborn into the depressed, the bad realms. It's
Yeah, I find it
very
also
difficult.
I find it a little puzzling myself. Because it would seem that, say, the evil in the wrong view is that it, one expounds it, either one acts on it oneself. Basically what's meant by wrong view is the view that there's no consequences of action, that our good and bad deeds don't have any consequences for the future. So if somebody just adopts that as a thought in his mind, it's hard to see how it could be such a strong karma that it would determine a bad rebirth. Actually, I have to say, I don't fully understand it myself. You know, if it's somebody who's alive, then they accept that view. Then on the basis of that view, then they just engage in bad deeds and disparage those who are performing good deeds. And then they also teach others, don't pay any attention to codes of ethics. They're all just a lot of useless fabrication, do whatever you want. Then I could see that the wrong view becomes a serious matter. But if somebody is just entertaining it purely in thought, I don't see how it could become such a heavy karma.
Bhante, on that note.
Yeah, but just, there might be things behind this that, that need explanation that we don't understand. Yeah.
Yeah, on that same line, if someone is just, if they heard the teachings and then they still hold on to their wrong views, would be one thing. But if they're just, if I don't know and I'm just going out of ignorance, is that karma powerful enough?
Yeah, I have to say I find it puzzling. I don't have that explanation.
And also, you said that it's through the higher jhanas where the Buddha or anyone, or these ascetics, they saw these rebirths and some of the fruits of karma. Were there ascetics prior to the Buddha? Because in India, karma was, a common principle or theory before even the Buddha was.
Yeah.
Would they have realized the effects of karma or before that, so they wouldn't have had wrong view, prior?
Were there teachers prior to the Buddha who taught...
Understood karma and
who taught it in an inaccurate way?
Yeah.
I would say so, but probably not in the same degree of detail that the Buddha taught it. For that, to answer that, one would have to, it would be like to have a specialized knowledge of the schools of thought that preceded the rise of Buddhism. I think in the Vedic literature, there's no real recognition of karma at all. I think the idea of one's good and bad actions as a force that determines rebirth starts to appear in some of the Upanishads, which are the later parts of the Vedic literature. And the Jains certainly held the doctrine of karma, though they interpreted it somewhat differently than the Buddhists do.
Because the Buddha mentions those recluses and Brahmins, via the divine eye, they can see rebirths. And so wouldn't they have seen good karma coming to fruition as good rebirth, bad karma coming to fruition as good rebirth, good coming to fruition as bad rebirth, and so on and so forth?
Well, apparently from the suttas that there were ascetics and Brahmins who had the divine eye, and they did teach the general principle. I would say that probably the majority would have taught the general principle that unwholesome actions lead to a bad rebirth, and wholesome actions lead to a good rebirth. And probably it would just be a minority, because these cases are relatively rare compared to the other, where a person who engages in unwholesome actions gets reborn in heaven, and a person who engages in good actions gets reborn in hell. Those would be, as I said, quite exceptional cases.
But you also mentioned, I think it was in the previous class, about having karma that's powerful enough to even get you out of hell, or good enough, whatever, or to get you out of the animal realm. So I mean, that's some really powerful karma that didn't yet materialize or comes to fruition. So wouldn't that be from a past life? It doesn't have to come to fruition in the subsequent life, or
No, I think what I said is that the explanation for why beings who are reborn in the animal realm can emerge from the animal realm and take rebirth as in the human realm.
Right.
It's unlikely to be from their conduct in the animal realm, because there's no observing of morality in the animal realm. So it's likely to be from a karma from a previous life, before their existence in the animal realm, that karma comes up and determines their rebirth back into the human realm.
There is a dog in Long Island who belongs to a Long Island policeman. And this dog loves cats and loves to save injured cats and cats that are out in the rain and stuff like that. The dog has saved something like 600 cats.
Really?
Brought them home to the owner, who takes care of them for a while, gives them to the SPCA, transfers them to other people and all that.
Yeah.
That sounds to me like it would be someone with a lot of good karma, who was nevertheless reborn in the animal world, right? And
yeah, I think it sounds like somebody with the bodhisattva.
well, it's certainly an animal doing good deeds.
Yeah, certainly there are cases of animals that, especially dogs, family dogs. I've heard cases of when the family home is burning and there's a child inside, the dog will run in, even at the risk of its own life, and pull the child out.
Yeah. Then there's Freddy the pig.
Excuse me?
Forget it. Anyway, I want to ask you a serious question.
That's quite a serious matter, I think. No, a dog that saves cats.
Well, Freddy the pig isn't.
Excuse me?
But Freddy the pig isn't. Freddy the pig is a novel. He's a character in a series of novels, right? I mean, he's not a real pig who did good deeds. So that's what I meant. But anyway, 2 weeks ago, I missed the fourth function. There are 4 functions, right? That is, there's
of karma.
Destructive, obstructive, and productive. What's the fourth one?
Oh, then it was the second that you're missing.
What?
Yeah, you have 3. The second is what's called supportive karma.
Supportive.
Yeah, supportive is karma that produces beneficial results in the course of a life. Helpful. It sort of creates helpful conditions.
Okay. Fine. Thank you. And last, this is a point of some importance to me. It looks to me from the sutra we just read that the Buddha is basically taking a position that's analogous to the Christian position that one can be saved either by good works or by faith, right? What he seems to be saying all through is that either good deeds before or after, or right view at the time of death is adequate, or failure to have a right view is adequate to change one's course in karma from the expected course, right? Which is, I mean, the Christian debates, there were a whole range of positions about the relationship between good deeds and good works and faith.
Yeah.
There were people, for instance, who believed, no, only faith could do it. Good works were absolutely irrelevant.
Yeah.
There were people who thought you needed both. The only position that didn't exist was that no, only good works, faith was absolutely irrelevant. Nobody believed that, so far as I can tell. But they believed virtually everything else.
Yeah, I think.
But anyway, the Buddha seems to be saying, well, either or, and even not both. He doesn't see, there's no place where he says you need both right view and good deeds, to have a better rebirth than otherwise your karma would make it look.
No, I would disagree with that.
Okay.
I think this sutta isn't. Let's say it's not prescribing the course of conduct that should be adopted in order to achieve a good rebirth, but it's presenting explanations of why somebody might be reborn either in the expected realm of rebirth or in the realm that's contrary to expectations. So this is an explanation of why something might take place.
Yeah.
But in the Buddha's general prescription for, say, the good way of life, the way of that the disciples should conduct themselves, we have like one formulation, the Noble Eightfold Path.
Yeah.
You have right view and right intentions, but then they have to be backed up and, accompanied by right speech, right action, right livelihood. And then in the 10 courses of wholesome action, you have 3 kinds of bodily good conduct, 4 kinds of verbal good conduct. Then you have non-covetousness, non-ill will, and then right view is the 10th. So ideally, a practitioner would be following all 10 of them. So it's not saying one or the other, but the ideal approach is to practice all 10 of them.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's just that in these, especially in these odd cases, then the explanation why a rebirth contrary to expectations took place, that there might have been the adoption of either the wrong view or the right view.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yes, what is your name? Lisa, okay.
Okay, now my question might be a little out of context since I haven't ever been in one of these classes.
Yeah.
But from what I'm understanding or for what I'm maybe perceiving is what we're talking about is the time of the dispelling of the body when you go back into your soul, into the rebirth, into the heaven. Is that what we're talking about? And then who's the judgment there? Is it like, are we judging ourselves in our time of death and rebirth into the other realm?
Yeah, there's no judgment taking place, but this is the working of karma is supposed to be.
But we're doing that to ourselves. It's like nobody's like the Buddha's not standing there like when we're.
No, the Buddha's not a judge. No, it's the working of, we call it an impersonal, natural law.
Because each soul that's on earth in our bodies, as we go back to the other realm, that's what we're taking with us from what we did in this lifetime, correct? Is that what you're talking?
Yeah, it just happens sort of naturally that good and bad actions, the good and bad actions that we perform, it's sort of built into them is this potential, this capacity to produce a result that corresponds to the moral quality of the action.
So when we're in the other, when we leave this physical existence and we go back into our soulful body with the unified one.
With the what?
With the unified, with the all one. We're all one. I mean.
Well, actually,
okay.
The Buddhist texts don't quite use that language.
All right, maybe I better get the book.
No, but it's speaking. The text is just speaking in quite, you call it, natural, everyday terms, almost every day, that just a person passes away and the stream of consciousness is going to go on and take rebirth in some other realm. And where that rebirth takes place is governed by the karma, the actions that the person has performed.
Now, do we come with an assignment in our physical realm? Does the Buddha believe that?
You mean if somebody gives us a task to?
Well, like our purpose, like, like say you're who you are in this lifetime, teaching us the teachings.
Yeah.
So that was, I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
that's not, okay.
It's not like a pre-assigned task or purpose, but people form purposes, they have aspirations, and then if one can't fulfill that aspiration in one lifetime, then that aspiration will continue on, and so one gets a sense that, like, this is my purpose. Like, say somebody has been a musician in a previous life, they love music, and they played music a lot, and their aspiration, their desire was to compose beautiful music. Okay, so when that person maybe will be reborn back into the human realm, maybe a non-musical family, but when they reach childhood, they have an urge, I want to learn the piano, and then that particular interest or love of music becomes like an all-absorbing aspiration. So you could say that they feel that that's their purpose in life, is to be a musician.
That's how you see 5-year-old prodigies, I guess.
Well, it's especially clear in those prodigies, but sometimes it might, and in the case of the prodigies, have been born into a musical family where they'll get musical training as infants, but somebody who, say, is born into a non-musical family, but when they reach their teens, they develop this love of music and this aspiration to learn to play a musical instrument.
Bhante, if we're the result of past karma, this birth or rebirth, whatever, is the result of past karma. In the Buddha's time, there were probably a few million people. And now in the Buddha's time, there were a few million people at most, probably, in the world. And now there's 7 billion.
Yeah.
Where is all this karma coming from?
Of course, the text, no, it's a good question. The texts don't say anything about it. The texts don't say anything about it because there's no recognition of increasing population. So I would just have to offer a conjectural explanation. What I would say is that there are probably that there are multiple planes of existence. So I say that other beings in other realms of existence are sort of emptying out, and beings are coming from those realms into this human realm. It seems, my conjecture is that a lot of beings are coming from the Asura realm. The Asura realm is the realm of beings who are the Titans, who are always engaged in fighting, violent activity. Yeah. The struggling for power. And also maybe from the Preta realm, the realm of afflicted spirits.
But then when the Buddha talks about past lives, it's like, and rebirths and other kalpas and things like that. Are we always born as human beings, or were it always, I don't know.
Were we always born as human?
No, I don't think we're always born as human beings, but you go back.
Well, they're always human beings, in other words.
Like in every, you know what I mean? Like every time the universe evolves, there's a planet Earth.
I've thought about this. It's really problematic because biologically, in fact, I had read years ago a book by a biologist who said that if there were just slightly different conditions at the time the earth was forming. One flash of lightning on a dark night hitting a particular group of bacteria or whatever, and the whole course of evolution on Earth could have been different. And I wonder, other planets and other galaxies, now that, they're discovering more planets revolving around stars and other galaxies, but the conditions, the life conditions will be so different there, it's hard to think that there's necessarily going to be, beings with a head on a neck and arms and legs. And the Buddha's supposed to have, all the Buddha's supposed to have the 32 marks of physical excellence. But it seems to me, this is just my conjecture, that maybe in other planets, other galaxies, the beings that we'll temporarily call human don't necessarily look like us at all. They might be just like the creatures that one sees in science fiction movies. But once a type of being evolves with, call it the intellectual capacity to understand, shall we call it the human condition, or the condition of sentient life, then they have the ability to understand, because in any world system, those beings are going to be subject to old age. Presumably they'll be afflicted with illness and they'll be bound to die. My conjecture, well, I'm answering that. I'm just saying that though the beings might look extremely different from us and have different capacities, different faculties, but still they'll be subject to old age in some form, probably subject to illnesses, and certainly subject to death. And so if they can reflect intelligently, then they'll come to understand, one of those beings will come to understand the Four Noble Truths and dependent origination and impermanence, dukkha, and non-self, and then start teaching it, and that's the Dharma. And so maybe they speak such very different languages, but woof, woof, woof. First noble truth. Woof, woof, woof. Second noble truth.
Bhante, both Jin and I have a question about the sentence, but she let me ask first.
About?
Okay, the whatever is felt is included in suffering.
Yeah.
And I see in front of the sentence there's the phrase, the principle put in the bracket.
Yeah.
So this is inserted by either Bhante or Venerable Nyanamoni, right? I wonder, we thought that the principle owning whatever is felt is included in suffering indicates that whatever there is feeling, there is owning suffering. So there are not three types of suffering, three types of feeling. And from the Buddha's point of view, no matter how transient a pleasant feeling is, he admits there is pleasant feeling. Is that right? Should I explain? Okay. About the sentence.
Yeah, yeah.
So, because my question is, the principle is put in the bracket.
Yeah.
So that means it's inserted by the translator, either by Bhante or by Venerable Nyanamoni. My question is, without the principle there, inserted there, whatever is felt is included in suffering, only means there is only one feeling, one type of feeling, and that feeling is suffering. No matter how, but the Buddha is opposed to the stance. It's because from the Buddha's teaching, there should be 3 types of feeling.
Right.
Even the pleasant feeling is very transient. No matter how brief or transient it is a pleasant feeling. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. So not even in the ultimate sense, or even in the ultimate sense, the transient, happy, pleasant feeling will eventually change into something.
Yeah.
But still, we need to accept it's the fact that there's pleasant feeling.
Definitely,
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's
okay.
okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, this statement, whatever is felt, is included in, we have to say dukkha rather than suffering. I think it comes from a sutta, I think it's in the Samyutta Nikaya, probably in the Vedana Samyutta, where the Buddha says, let's see how it goes. Pleasant feeling, gee, my memory is a little cloudy. Pleasant feeling is dukkha because it's impermanent. Painful feeling is dukkha because it is painful, like a dart. And then the neither pleasant nor painful feeling is dukkha because it usually conditions more ignorance. Something like that. It might be something like chapter 36. Number. No, I can't give the exact number. You found it?
It's in your footnote.
Oh, I see. Well, I was almost close. I was going to say 12. Okay, any further? Okay, Jen?
Regarding to the same question on this,
Yeah.
whatever is felt is included in sufferings. The same paragraph 6, as Bohui asked. Bande, does this related to someone that still has the 5 aggregates?
Does it related to what?
To the same paragraph that
Yeah.
Bohui just asked.
Yeah.
Whatever is felt, like feeling it's an, if there's a feeling,
Yeah.
then there's a dukkha and there's a suffering,
Yeah.
right? Does this only apply to the ordinary person like us,
Yeah.
but not to whoever achieved the enlightenment?
I see.
Whoever achieved the enlightenment,
Yeah.
they may only have 1 aggregate, like the body. Form aggregates.
Somebody who's enlightened only has the form aggregate? Is that
The form aggregates and all the 5 aggregates.
Or
But,
they-
but they become enlightened.
Yeah.
And so before they die,
Yeah.
they still have 4 aggregates, 5
5,
aggregates.
yeah, all 5, yeah.
But each of 5, they function differently, right? They would not accumulate it with the ignorance, the wrong view,
Yeah. Yeah.
so on and so on. So when it goes to the feeling aggregates,
Yeah.
will they stop there but not produced perception, volitional, and consciousness?
Oh, no.
They will continue.
They'll have perceptions, they'll have volitions, because they intend to do things. I mean, when the Buddha, he's living at Savatthi, he says, let's go to Rajagaha. That's a volition, intention. And they have certainly consciousness. They have to be aware of what's going on around them.
But do they still consider as having a dukkha?
What I would say is that first, they still experience bodily painful feeling, but they don't have the mental suffering that builds up on the bodily painful feeling. You know, they don't have grief or misery if they get sick and are feeling pain. They don't have worry or concern about painful feeling. So in that way, they're free from the mental suffering that builds up on painful bodily feeling, but they're still subject to the bodily painful feelings.
So the bodily painful feelings does not produce dukkha, unsatisfactory.
There are multiple meanings of the word dukkha. Okay, the painful bodily feeling doesn't produce any mental dukkha, but they'll still regard the five aggregates as being dukkha because, you know, there's a lot of trouble with the maintenance of the five aggregates. They do fall ill. Every day, you know, they have to wash to keep the body clean, shave. So then there's a lot of, you know, just imperfections in the ordinary experience of maintaining the five aggregates. So they regard it as dukkha, but they don't feel mental suffering because of that.
And they are not free from the samsara yet.
It depends on how you phrase it. You could say that they're free from samsara in the sense that they don't have any bondage to it anymore. But they still live out their normal lifespan to the rest of their lifespan. So if he becomes the Buddha achieves enlightenment at the age of 35, then he goes on to live 35 plus 45, another 45 years till he passes away. So he still has a 45-year lifespan. So you could say, and then he still undergoes bodily death, old age and bodily death. So in that sense, you could say he's still in samsara, but he's not of it because he's cut off all of the roots of samsara.
And once he
But usually, you see, the word samsara, literally it means wandering on, in the sense of going from birth to death and then from death on to new birth. And so in that sense, you could say that the Buddha or anyone who achieves arhatship is free from samsara because they're not wandering on. You know, they're not heading on to another rebirth. But it's certainly the case that they continue their biological existence.
Until they
Yeah, of course, until they pass away.
Until they pass away, and
then their samsara comes to an end, yeah.
But it's not nothingness after that.
Excuse me?
It's not nothingness after that, after they passed away.
No.
Could I ask another question, just very brief one?
Okay.
Are all karmas capable?
Is what?
All karmas capable? Because at the end of the sutra it says some are capable, are incapable. Are all karma capable?
Let's say, I would say all karmas are capable of producing their result, except this comes in the later literature, a little bit after the suttas, that they're like a karma that is of the type to produce its effect in this life. If it doesn't meet the conditions to produce its effect in this life, then it becomes defunct. That karma can't come to fruition. Then there's other type of karma which is said to be of the type that will produce its result in the next existence. But because it belongs to that type, doesn't mean necessarily that it will produce its result in the next existence. If it doesn't meet the conditions for producing its result in the next existence, then that karma becomes defunct. But the third type, actually the three types are mentioned here, but the idea of becoming defunct isn't mentioned. The third type is the karma that is due to produce its result in some subsequent existence. That karma always remains and always has the ability to produce its result until a person becomes liberated from samsara.
But my question is, for a karma that is defunct, do you call it capable or incapable?
If it becomes defunct, then it's incapable. Okay,
Thank you.
we have two more. Okay, two more, then we'll stop.
I have a question regarding to karma based on what, the way I interpret based on what you talk about, capable and incapable, from my own understanding, is that all karma, it will appear, will show up when the conditions are met. That's what I interpret. That's my understanding.
Yeah.
So in a sense, that meant all karma sometimes is dominant. If it does not function now, it's latent karma.
Yeah.
So, but from what you just told us, there's three types.
Yeah.
The first type is if it does not, when it does not function, well, defunct. When it's defunct, that means disappearing, or it will become a latent karma.
No, it
show
means that
up.
it disappears. It belongs to a type where its direction, let's say its label, is karma to produce its result in this life, here and now. But in order for the karma to produce its result, it has to meet supporting conditions. Just like it's like a seeds. Let's say seeds of wheat that have the capacity to grow into wheat, but in order for those seeds to ripen, the seeds have to be planted in suitable soil and get suitable rain and amount of water and so forth. Okay, but in the case of those karmas that are due to ripen in this life, if they don't meet the suitable conditions, then the karma becomes defunct. It won't ripen any time in the future. And similarly with the type of karma called due to ripen in the next existence, that means if it receives or meets with suitable conditions in the next existence, it ripens. If it doesn't meet conditions, it loses its capacity. It won't produce results.
Okay, can I ask following question from my own understanding?
Yeah.
So if I create certain type of karma, I'm just talking about current life karma. If I do something, am I able to making the conditions not met, so the seed would not germinate.
I see.
In a sense, that means transformation. That means the karma can be transformed. That's what I want to ask.
Okay.
Defunct is different than transform. So that's what I like to understand this part. And is that related to conditions?
I don't think one can transform the karma. The karma has the karma belongs to a certain type with the ability to produce certain types of results. But I'd say that though we don't know exactly what karmas we've created, what are the karmas that are due to ripen this life, but I would say as a general principle we could understand that, say, unwholesome karmas are due to produce undesirable results, So if we do good karma, do a lot of good deeds in this life, that will tend to produce, and we conduct ourselves carefully, that will produce contrary conditions which will prevent that karma from gaining the opportunity to ripen. Okay, let me just take like a concrete example. Okay, maybe somebody has done a karma, maybe this life or an earlier life, but that karma has the potential to ripen in this life. It was a bad karma, so it's due to ripen in the form of losing one's life, dying prematurely. Okay, now, if this person goes to bars and drinks and then drives home after drinking a lot, then the person is putting himself in a dangerous situation. So that will be sort of giving greater opportunity for that karma to ripen. But if the person doesn't go to bars and drives carefully, then their behavior is blocking that karma from getting the opportunity to ripen.
So, in a sense, that existing karma almost, for example, like you said, the seed. So the seed never germinated, never grew. So in other words, the seed just died.
Yeah.
Like the body.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I thought I saw another. Yeah. Was it you who had the question? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just to clarify, within this sutta, the word capable, I thought was being used for rebirth, karma that causes rebirth, and strictly in that sense, as opposed to just karma that can have the capacity for it.
Yeah, actually, the way I interpreted it, that's the sense. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think we'll have to stop. You had a question? Okay. So let us end with. We do 3 more bows to the Buddha. No, of course the karma doesn't do that. It's just that the karma gets the opportunity.